There's a psychological technique so subtle, so powerful, that it can make someone doubt their own thoughts, question their own decisions, and second-guess their own reality, all without you speaking a single word. This isn't about manipulation for evil purposes. This is about understanding how nonverbal communication works at the deepest level. How to protect yourself from those who might use these techniques against you, and how to project the kind of presence that naturally commands respect and consideration. Today, we're going to explore the silent psychology of influence. You'll learn why your nonverbal communication is often more powerful than your words. How to use strategic body language and facial expressions to create psychological impact. And most importantly, how to develop the kind of presence that makes people naturally reconsider their actions and attitudes around you. The foundation of this technique lies in understanding a fundamental truth about human psychology. We're constantly seeking validation and certainty from our environment. When that validation is withheld or when subtle signals suggest we might be wrong, our minds automatically start questioning and self-correcting. This happens because humans are social creatures who have evolved to be extremely sensitive to group dynamics and social approval. Throughout history, being cast out from the group meant death. So our brains developed sophisticated systems for reading social cues and adjusting behavior to maintain acceptance and status. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this principle. He observed that the most effective leaders could influence others through presence alone. They didn't need to argue, threaten, or persuade. Their mere demeanor communicated expectations so clearly that others naturally aligned with their wishes. This isn't about being manipulative or deceptive. It's about understanding how human communication actually works and using that knowledge to create better outcomes for everyone involved. Let me break down the 5 key techniques for making people question themselves through nonverbal communication. Technique 1. The strategic pause with direct eye contact. When someone says something questionable, instead of immediately responding or arguing, you pause. You maintain steady, calm eye contact for 3 to 5 seconds. You don't glare or look angry. You simply look at them with neutral attention, as if you're processing what they just said very carefully. This creates psychological pressure because they expect an immediate response. The pause suggests that what they said was either so surprising or so questionable that you need time to consider it. Most people will start to wonder if what they said was appropriate, accurate, or reasonable. Often, they'll spontaneously clarify, modify, or even retract their statement without you saying anything at all. Your silence becomes more powerful than any argument you could make. Technique 2. The slight head tilt with raised eyebrows. This is a micro-expression that communicates gentle skepticism without hostility. When someone makes a claim or states an opinion, you tilt your head slightly to one side and raise your eyebrows just a fraction. This creates a questioning look that suggests you find their statement curious or unexpected. This expression triggers doubt because it implies that a reasonable person might see things differently. It doesn't attack their position directly, but it plants a seed of uncertainty. They start to wonder if they've missed something or if their perspective needs adjustment. Technique 3. The knowing smile with silence. This is perhaps the most psychologically powerful technique. When someone is trying to convince you of something or defend a questionable position, you respond with a small, knowing smile and say nothing. This smile suggests that you understand something they don't. It implies that you have information, experience, or insight that makes their position seem naive or incomplete. It's not condescending. It's the smile of someone who has been where they are and knows better. This creates intense curiosity and self-doubt. They want to know what you know. They start questioning whether their position is as solid as they thought. Technique 4. The strategic body language withdrawal. When someone is being inappropriate, pushy, or disrespectful, instead of confronting them verbally, you subtly adjust your body language to create distance. You might lean back slightly, cross your arms loosely, or shift your position to face slightly away from them. This physical withdrawal communicates disapproval without words. It suggests that their behavior is pushing you away, which most people will notice and respond to automatically. They often modify their approach without conscious awareness of why. Technique 5. The mirror and amplify technique. When someone displays concerning behavior or attitudes, you subtly mirror their energy back to them in a slightly exaggerated way. If they're being aggressive, you become very calm. If they're being frantic, you become very still. If they're being loud, you become very quiet. This contrast makes their behavior more obvious to them and to anyone else present. They start to see how they're coming across by comparison to your composed response. Often, they'll naturally adjust their behavior to match your energy level. Now let's explore how to apply these techniques in specific situations, in professional settings. These techniques can be incredibly effective during meetings, negotiations, or when dealing with inappropriate workplace behavior. Instead of engaging in arguments or confrontations, you can use strategic nonverbal communication to guide conversations and behaviors. For example, if a colleague is making unreasonable demands, the pause and stare technique often makes them reconsider their approach. If someone is sharing information of questionable accuracy, the head tilt with raised eyebrows often prompts them to verify their facts. In personal relationships, these techniques help maintain healthy boundaries without creating conflict. When someone crosses a line or behaves inappropriately, your nonverbal response can communicate your disapproval more effectively than words. The key is that these responses feel natural rather than confrontational. The other person doesn't feel attacked, so they're more open to adjusting their behavior rather than becoming defensive. In social situations, these techniques help you maintain your standards and command respect without seeming rude or antisocial. People naturally become more considerate and thoughtful in their interactions with you because your nonverbal communication sets a higher standard. Here are some important guidelines for using these techniques ethically and effectively. First, use them only when appropriate. Don't deploy these techniques just because you disagree with someone's opinion or want to feel superior. Save them for situations where someone is actually being inappropriate, disrespectful, or unreasonable. Second, maintain genuine respect for others. These techniques should come from a place of wanting better communication and mutual respect, not from a desire to dominate or belittle others. Third, Be prepared for the conversation that might follow. Sometimes your non-verbal response will prompt the other person to ask what you're thinking, or why you seem skeptical. Have thoughtful, respectful responses ready. Forth. Practice these techniques until they feel natural. If you use them too deliberately or obviously, they become manipulative rather than communicative. Fifth, understand that some people will recognize what you're doing. Sophisticated communicators may notice your techniques and respond accordingly. This isn't necessarily bad. It can lead to more honest, direct communication. The psychological impact of these techniques is profound because they tap into fundamental human needs for social approval and certainty. When you withhold the expected validation or provide subtle signals of skepticism, people naturally start self-evaluating. This self-evaluation is powerful because it comes from within rather than from external argument or criticism. When people convince themselves that they need to adjust their behavior or reconsider their position, the change is more lasting than when they're forced to change by external pressure. However, it's crucial to understand the responsibility that comes with this knowledge. These techniques can be misused to gaslight, manipulate, or undermine others unfairly. The goal should always be better communication and mutual respect, not psychological dominance. The most ethical application is defensive, using these techniques to protect your boundaries, maintain your standards, and encourage more thoughtful behavior from others. They should make interactions more pleasant and respectful for everyone involved. Here's what happens when you master these techniques. People become more considerate in their interactions with you. They think more carefully before speaking. They show greater respect for your time and attention. They naturally adjust their behavior to match your standards. This doesn't make you antisocial or unapproachable. In fact, it often makes you more attractive to high-quality people who appreciate thoughtful, respectful communication. You become someone others want to impress rather than someone they feel they can take advantage of. The key to success with these techniques is subtlety and authenticity. They should feel like natural extensions of your personality rather than calculated behaviors. When done correctly, even the person being influenced should feel respected rather than manipulated. Practice these techniques in low-stakes situations first. Notice how people respond to your strategic pauses, your questioning expressions, your knowing smiles. Pay attention to how their behavior adjusts in response to your non-verbal communication. Remember, the goal isn't to make people feel bad about themselves. It's to encourage more thoughtful, respectful communication. You're providing feedback that helps them understand how their behavior affects others. Master these techniques, and you'll discover that you can guide conversations, maintain boundaries, and command respect without ever raising your voice or engaging in conflict. Your presence alone becomes a tool for creating the kind of interactions and relationships you want in your life. The most powerful communication often happens in the spaces between words. Learn to use those spaces effectively, and you'll influence others more than most people do with endless talking.